let's go deeper. Now we are each other's keeper. If we speed up, can you keep up? Reaching depths we never seen before. I don't want stay clean no more. I just wanna keep you close. Life is dirty, don't you worry. Messy moments mean the most. Remember when I seen a ghost interrupt the speech and toast. Lost my manners, nothing matters when you hooked and need a dose. I know the game, I know the ropes. Read the book and took some notes. Lust and trust is not enough. We out of luck, it's all a joke. Watch the clock, watch your folks. Taking risks, we'll see results. Make a miss, we feel the pulse. They still our votes, we still revolt. Your voices sound so good to me. Was just two, but now it's three. Feelings to stay clearer. We the realest you will ever see. Don't you let a melody erase all the felony. Free the people, see no equal coming for the equity. Can I have an extra piece? Battling my selfish greed. No one's here to keep the peace, so they gon' hear us yell like creed. Let's go further, let's go deeper. Now we are each other's keeper. If we speed up, can you keep up? Reaching depths we never seen before. I don't want stay clean no more. I just wanna keep you close. Life is dirty, don't you worry. Messy moments mean the most. I had a day with destiny. Didn't think we'd ever leave. Pulled a trick from down my sleeve. Talking slick and lick my teeth. Your touch it feel like ecstasy. I just want you next to me. Don't chase it when you taste it, baby. Perfected the recipe. We just gotta hold the line. Even I control our mind. You get it when you read the sign. Out of soul we leave behind. Show me yours, then you'll see mine. How do you conceive of time? Change the rules we redefine. We just gonna sing our lines. Go harder, let's be softer. I'm accepting what you offer. Indeed, after.
Welcome, 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 y'all. I am so excited to feature a really new space for us here in the Messy Movement Lab, but something that just makes total sense and feels very much so in alignment with the work that we do and how we're showing up in the world and in this space of reconnecting back to the body and really allowing ourselves an opportunity to get lost in the moment, in the music, on the dance floor. And so I'm super excited to have here with me Damon Williams, Messy Moments creator. Y'all, I'm super excited. Damon, this is so beautiful.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for
What?
having me.
What
I
is
really
this?
appreciate it.
What
I
are you
received
talking
that.
This
That's
is
so much
so
love.
beautiful. I'm just
Thank
so
you.
proud and so honored, one, that you'd be willing to have this conversation with me and just to share more with me about the art that you're creating in the world. This is so beautiful. The imagery is so beautiful. I see so many familiar faces. It just feels like home, feels like Chicago. So you have to, first of all, before we jump into all of that, I need you to just give us the rundown. Who are you? What are you doing in this world? And yeah, let's start there.
Yeah, I'm Damon. My name is Damon Williams. I'm a movement builder from the south side of Chicago. In many ways, liberation, Black liberation, revolution are the spiritual, but also political and cultural traditions that I uphold the most and center in not only my work life, but in my relationships and my connection to community. And so being able to say that or claim that with integrity, the roots of that was through artistry and performance and in being in movement space and doing a lot of other work that I'm really proud of, including media work. I hadn't been able to focus the energy and attention to my personal artistry and the way I want to be in relation to the world. So this is a kind of relaunch or reintroduction of this side of myself, but it's all part of movement.
Wow. I'm super, super proud and just really honored. Again, I just can't say that enough because this is so beautiful, especially considering all of the things that we've been navigating socially, politically, and interpersonally, just navigating through the pandemic over the last couple years. And you and I have known each other for quite a long time.
Yeah.
we had an opportunity to just for our listeners, I just want to make some distinctions. When Damon is referring to movement space, it's referring to social justice, it's referring to community activism, it's referring to the ways in which we're showing up in the conversations around public policy and how that's holding the people within various communities. And of course, that obviously intersects with the way in which our bodies are living and breathing in those spaces. But just to give people some clarity and some nuance around what these various movements are, right? But just again, I just think that the energy behind this song, the words that you're sharing with us are definitely in alignment with kind of the messiness of the last 2 to 3 years. So I'm curious, like what inspired this for you and why?
Yeah, so I think there's a larger, like, just wanting to make an offering before even getting to the specific content. Like, what inspired this is wanting to be deeper in connection, deeper in community, to have a presence in the world that is a little bit more intentional. So that's why I make anything. And then messy moments and like the specific content, that language came to me kind of in flow or in what I would call the like Black surrealist practice of writing. Like, I didn't sit down to say that phrase messy moments mean the most. It kind of like created itself. And once that came in as a bedrock, it some of my theoretical ancestors once said, the Boggs from Detroit, that truth is not to be proven or discovered, it is to be created. And so once it came to life, it felt like truth, and it resonates with, again, so many of the experiences that not just these last 2 years, really these last like 10 years of our world shifting, us really having new higher ideals, striving to be a greater potential as people, as Black people, as marginalized people, and in wanting to create new selves, new human beings, a new society. We carry so much of our world and how we interact with each other. And so the notion of messy moments mean the most, one, started interpersonally of trying to have an offering of what does a commitment to deeper intimacy and vulnerability in your most closest, most intimate relationships look like. But then how does that one-to-one, whether it's with a partner, whether it's with a collaborator, whether it's with a family member, how does that one-to-one dynamic actually translate or parallel to our collective spaces? And so in the spaces where we're talking about justice, where we're talking about freedom, where we're talking about being in our body, talking about expanding our spirits, talking about healthiness or health, we find that we also feel conflict or toxicity or discomfort or triggers or disorder or dysfunction that shows up in our body, in our psyche, in our soma. And those two things are always at conflict. And like, I believe that conflict actually creates a contradiction that can be the data for our transformation. So the messiness, the moments that for me have felt so burdensome or so heavy or seemingly in the moment drain my capacity are the things I look back on that have actually taught me the most or prepared me the most for when further messiness comes, even if it feels like I can't handle it. So there's so many, I could keep going, but that's really the essence of it.
Yes. Oh man. And we are very much so familiar with leaning into having some sense of awareness around the contrast that comes up for us, and allowing that contrast to, like you said, create data for like, how do we move forward? What things do we need to do better or different in order to take our next steps forward? Thank you for that. That's really powerful intention. So I've got some numbers here for a couple questions that I'd love to ask you. So I'm going to give you a choice between a 1 through 7, and let me know 1 through 7. What number do you pick?
Let's go 3.
All right. Who do you want to hear this song? Now that can be a specific person, or it could be in like the heart of like, who is it for? Who's the person that needs this song the most right now?
Yeah, I think it's for the people doing the work, and not the commodified labor, but the work that you embody, the work that actually sustains our communities or takes care of people or takes care of themselves. And so in this piece, I really am trying to do or hope that there is this relationship to the interpersonal and then to these larger collective efforts. And so anybody who is into intentional work of healing, restoration, transformation, mutual aid, independent artistry, who are trying to survive, who recognize our systems or the way we relate with each other as harmful, and in trying to survive that, work to create more life for themselves and for other people. So there are very explicit spaces that I'm connected to that do that, but I don't want it to feel like it's just for folks that are doing a campaign or a protest or in a big O organization. There are a lot of folks and a lot of networks and ecosystems of healers, of teachers, of builders who are working to create more life. And I want folks to know that like that life making, that project is messy, and to feel encouraged in that, and to like not be overwhelmed. How do we accept and be prepared for there is going to be messiness towards in the path of these new possibilities?
Yes. Thank you for that. Now, okay.
I'll pick another number,
Yeah, we're gonna pick another number. I'm looking at the list here because I'm like, okay,
where I'm going.
I've already asked you 2 of these questions, so I want to make sure I don't double up on you. But so let's see here. We got 2, 4, 5, 6, or 7.
I'm going to 7.
Ooh, love this method. I really love this method. Okay, what's next for you? Like, what is the thing that you are like in your creative work? Where are you going next?
I love that. So there's a short, simple answer of this is the first solo project, or first solo piece I've put out after, I guess it's going on 9 years. So more, I have more that is coming. But really the music is one component of a larger multidisciplinary craft practice that I'm trying to build. And the other ones are taking some time. So the ultimate goal is this is all leading up towards creating an album and a book and basically a talk show under the same title, using the same language, but interpreted or expressed in different ways or formats. And so I don't yet have the capacity to do that. And this has been the vision for a long time. And so starting with the music, working towards building essays, and then starting to create this show towards an EP that's called In Process. It's kind of like a prologue to the album and the book that I'm trying to build over the next, let's call it 3 to 5 years. So the horizon is Revolution of Evolution in the 21st Century, or Revivev 21. And the short term is In Process. And so that's being in process of working towards that larger project, but also understanding that all of life is a process, and we're in creative, transformative, restorative processes all the time, whether we call them that or not. And so the shortest term is, ideally, there will be an essay titled Messy Moments that will be a little bit more expressive, didactic, theoretical. And then there will be a show where there will be an episode that is titled Messy Moments, and we get in conversation with some folks around the idea. So that's the ambition. That's a lot I just named. It might just be a couple of more songs and trying to look cute might be the real answer. But just to put it out there and to claim it, that's the vision.
You know, that's right. You gotta speak the vision and make it plain. Write it down and make it plain. And I love that you are very clear about where you want to go with this. And so I'm just gonna shout to all you producers out there that are listening. Go ahead and tap Damon on the shoulder so that y'all can like get into this work, because already you all are doing such powerful work in Chicago and such powerful care building among communities that have been historically neglected. And so I think that this is a phenomenal idea and experience already, just with the start of the music and creating something that culturally we just inherently always can lean into music. And I think art is a pathway into more difficult conversations, right? Because we can't always start at the theoretical level, or even in, especially just in these heightened contexts, right? But we can most definitely relate to music that really kind of calls us home or time travels us to different parts of our life experience. And I think that this song definitely captures that energy. Like, it just kind of reminds me of like a like when you're at it's like the end of the picnic or the gathering with your family, and at any time, but really I think I see us outside, you know what I mean? And just like that last moment, you know what I mean? Like when you're kind of like, there's been a lot that's happened between this family. There's been a lot that could have pulled us apart, but yet here we are. It's kind of that kind of that string. That's the visual that I get from it. I mean, I love that in the video, you all are gathering like at this large table and just like seeing so many people in that community space, just and sharing, breaking bread together, like being in that moment together with all that has happened. I beautifully illustrated.
Thank you. Yeah, that's actually was shot on the campus where Breathing Room is. So we now have a Black led abolitionist co-living space. So some of those folks actually live and do communal work and do community agriculture and feed folks, and are artists, and is also my family. And just so the actual visual and this notion of that you just received of a community surviving hardship and a lot of traumatic burden is still here and is still making space for folks to connect with each other. So I'm really grateful for the actual people that showed up, and just like don't want to commodify it, but I also do want to name it and claim it. It was my community, and it was a table of Black women, Black femmes, gender nonconforming folks that showed up and answered the call. And so just the honor of being supported, being cared, being in partnership and contributing to, and also benefiting from the collective labor of caring for a community that Black women have been holding down. And so it was intentional, but also organic in how that space came together.
Yes. And speaking of Black women, I seen your wife. I seen your
Yeah, she looking good, ain't she?
Doing her thing. Okay. Yes. Okay, Jennifer.
Shout out.
It's giving. It's giving. I would love to know, you and Jennifer have worked together for a really long time. Like how you speak to like being able to bring intimacy and vulnerability into those moments. How do you all care for each other in that space while doing such intensive labor in the community and interpersonal labor, even with like in the co-living space? Like how do you all pour back into each other as a married couple? How do you all just like and stay centered and grounded in your work?
Thank you for that. And yeah, very intentional, trying to just like forefront that intimacy of what's in my real world in this offering. And yeah, on a very basic level, if I'm honest with myself, it wouldn't have been possible for me to do this work, definitely sustain being in this work, if it wasn't for my partner and the rest of my family and village. But speaking to Jennifer specifically, the way that the song came about, like the line, let's go further, let's go deeper, she was the inspiration to that happening. And in building the language, it then also paralleled to the larger communal experience. And so starting with home and learning how to hold all of a person. I think I could, the video is very beautiful. I'll claim it, we are very beautiful, but want to be honest of like, you know, in being in these spaces, there is a practice I have of how to be sensitive to folks' humanity, because on a day-to-day basis, I have a co-responsibility, not only to myself, but to this other beautiful person who is holding a lot and living through a lot, and maybe might not be seen. I think she's bad as hell. She like has this beautiful physical presence that can maybe sometimes be like a little blinding with this light of folks don't see the way in which she struggles or the way in which she has to move through the world in her interiority. And so having access to that, having a responsibility, being accountable to that has been a gift, because it has made me have to be in practice of being a caring person and being a fuller human being. And so wanting to bring that to the space, and she is in a time of transformation. And I think the shaving of the head is kind of like a symbolic representation of that. And while we're going through all of this transformation and this holding and this care, and the way that she shows up for me and supports me and made it even possible for me to like get back into the studio, at the same time, we have been together holding and carrying a lot for our people, our city, our community, our movement. And there's just a lot of work. And so being able to have this kind of non-traditional schedule partnership that is kind of always ongoing, and like the work and our personal life probably needs a little bit more barrier, and we I think we've been actually leaning into that, but there's a real beauty, power, privilege really to having this connection that is committed to deeper and larger principles beyond just like how you doing today, or petty like day-to-day relation stuff on Black Twitter, who's spitting the bill type. I don't know if I could curse, BS, like,
Oh no, you can't.
Yeah, we're not really,
Yeah,
we go deeper than a lot of the bullshit, because not only are we responsible to our community, but there are larger principles we have, whether we want to call them feminist, whether we want to call them radical, whether we want to call them restorative, like that we know that we then have to use these things that we are saying our world needs to invest in our day-to-day. And so just in how we treat each other then parallels to being able to make a video, make a song, build a campaign, feed people, have an event, have a community space, organize with folks. It's all intertwined and really part of the recipe.
I really appreciate you taking the time to acknowledge her contributions and the way in which your partnership has supported you and being able to continue to flourish individually and collectively for the vision that you're building. And just to know, just to see that type of celebration and to see that type of joy just brings us a lot of joy, just seeing other couples who are building life partnerships that really reflect radical or feminist views and that are rooted in just taking a step further than what we've been necessarily given as in terms of like what partnership can look like. And so that's so beautiful. Shout out to y'all and many prayers to y'all as y'all continue to pour into the people around you and pour into each other. Just may you continue to flourish and continue to thrive in that space. Absolutely. I think we've covered most of my questions, but there's one question that I'd love to end on before you share with us where we can stream the song and where we can get in contact with you and all of that jazz. But I'd love to know, who are some of your music or art or theater inspirations? Like, who really calls on your spirit and is like, oh, I need to create whenever you interact with their.
So I want to shout out like right now, the person, I'm gonna get to some more like intentional answers, but the person that really does it for me, and I think is kind of arguably the best doing it, is JID. His release of his project, The Forever Story, has really been sitting with me. But I'm fortunate to be really directly inspired by my community. My big sister, who has also been a work partner and collaborator, is my artistic mentor or first example as a writer, as a poet, as a creator, as a producer of like also the follow through and execution. But then musically, I'm so fortunate to kind of have been nurtured or to come of age during this renaissance, and so to admire, but also be in relationship to and pulled by folks like Jamila Woods, Saba, and the whole Pivot Gang, John Doe, Mick Jenkins, No Name, Rick Wilson, Tasha. This is really like, you know, my people, Green Slime. These are my folks. And so to see the way in which many of them have traveled the land, traveled the world, and been able to impact, connect with so many people with their work, and seeing some of them start at open mics or in workshops and watching what they've flourished to, has really been a privilege and always been kind of the mind. I want to shout out, I always want to like been my benchmark or my inspiration or my pull of like, beyond wanting to make something that's catchy, like this is how I want to live my life. This is how I want to exist and be a significant part of how I interact with community in the world. And so definitely want to shout out the soil that I'm from and all of those beautiful flowers that have come from it.
Yes. Come through with the history and the legacy of Chicago and far reaching across the country, but definitely there's just some good roots and some good soil, like you said, in Chicago, and so many amazing artists that have come through or were born out of or were educated by the energy and the love and the community of Chicago. And so thank
Shout
you.
out Avery, our young. Shout out Krista Franklin. You
Come on.
know,
Yes, yes. So how can people find your work? How can people find the song? Let us know where should people
yeah, for sure. I'm gonna give one more shout out to the end of that answer too. Also got to shout out the black comedy tradition. I got to shout out my dad as well, and all of
come on.
my black comedy uncles that have been looking after me since I was born. But where can people find it? It is now on all platforms. It's on Spotify, Tidal, Apple Music, all of that. The videos on YouTube, Messy Moments, Damon A. Williams.
Yeah.
I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Damon_AF, April Fools. Other work and other things folks should check out. I mentioned briefly media work as part of what I do. And so from Ergo Media, I'm part of co-host, co-creator of a podcast, production and publishing entity. And so every week at Ergo Radio or everywhere you can get podcasts, there are conversations, long form, deep dives with different movement builders, thinkers, artists, creators, educators, folks who are in the context of the exact type of things I'm talking about and working to embody with this piece. We have hundreds of hours of content that y'all can check out there. And then if you want to get more in tune with the work, particularly here in Chicago, check us out at the Let Us Breathe Collective. That's Let Us Breathe 773 on social. And you can come by the Liberation Landing, which houses the Breathing Room Farm and Gardens, as well as the Sukasa Living Space. And yeah, get in tune with the work and fuck the police and all of that too.
Hey,
So
say it one more time. Say it one more time for the people.
Fuck 12, fuck the prisons, fuck the borders, fuck ICE, fuck the Supreme Court. We got to create a whole new thing. And part of creating that thing is recognizing that these are oppressive, invasive species that are harmful to our collective health. And so we got to create some new things as we name the necessity of getting rid of these old things. So yeah, shout out to the Treatment Not Trauma campaign right now in Chicago that is in collaboration with the Defund CP campaign, which is pushing right now in 3 wards in the city on a ballot referendum this November for investment into public mental health professionals to respond to mental health crises instead of police. It's called Treatment Not Trauma. I also call it common sense. And so we can take resources from police response and put it into healthcare response right now. So if you're in the 20th ward, the 33rd ward, or the 6th or 3rd ward, it's another one. You'll look it up, Treatment Not Trauma, and get in tune with that as well.
Love it. Thank you so much, Damon. Thank you for taking time today to share more about your journey in creating this work and to share these resources with us. We're going to have to go back and get the transcript and make sure that we give you all of those so that you can get the links directly to these organizations that are doing really impactful work in the Chicago community and abroad. So I'm so grateful to you, and y'all go ahead and make sure that y'all find Damon, stream the song, follow him on social, and make sure that you connect with him. Like, let him know how the song impacts you and like where you taking it. Like, let him know, okay, y'all. And we'll be back soon. This was great. This was great. So thank you, Damon, for giving us an opportunity to try a new pathway and to find some other ways to bring this conversation of healing through the messy moments and using movement as a pathway to reconnect.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful to be here, but also proud of you and the work that you're doing and the platform that you're building. And it feels so appropriate that Messy Moments came to have this conversation with Messy Movement Lab.
Yeah.
And just like for the history, not to go too deep, but I'm talking a lot about movement in this conversation and the like out in the streets. And that all started for me with the Ferguson uprising and going down to Ferguson. And we were part of that first caravan that started the Let Us Breathe Collective. So you are always like part of the tribe, part of my life story and memory and history. And so it means a lot, not only to be here with you now, but to see how over these last 8-9 years you have flourished and made such intentional space for all bodies, for Black queer women, for our people. I really, really admire what you're doing, and I'm honored that you would share your space with me.
Oh, David. Oh, I really appreciate that. Like, yeah, Ferguson was life-changing. I find myself reflecting back on that time quite often, and how we were truly being led and protected and guided by a force not ourselves.
Right.
And to collectively like hold each other's lives like that, and to
Mhm.
enter into this space to be able to offer care and support to these young people and others that were experiencing distress and displacement as a result of Mike Brown's death, I'm forever life changing. And so I'm very grateful to one, be connected, and to two, have shared in this and in that moment in history with you and with Christiana and with Let Us Breathe, and just to know that we're all like, I mean, there's just so many pathways, like that everyone that was involved do ground level support, the ways in which our careers have just really stemmed, and that through line just continues to come back to us, that one, what we're fighting for, who we're fighting for, and what we're looking to disrupt. And I'm really grateful for that, and grateful to know that we have some comrades in that type of disruption, because it's necessary.
Ashe.
Well, we gonna get out of here, y'all. We're gonna let y'all have the rest of your day, but make sure you like, share, subscribe, wherever this is living. Go ahead and share it, because there's some goodness in here for somebody to catch. And we thank y'all for taking a moment out to be with us today, and we will talk to you soon.
Much love.